Welcome back to Doing a 180 at 60. I'm author John Raymond Takacs with my two guests, Josh Smart and the Judge Hermanson. In triathlon, once again, it's swim, bike, run, and now we're up to the bike segment that I want to talk about bicycling. And I never realized it before, but we have a real star at bicycling. Judge, tell us about your bike career.
Well, my bike career actually started after the last Ironman, which was in 1992. And they were recruiting athletes to participate in the Paralympic Games on behalf of the U.S. So I got invited back to the Olympic Training Center.
That's where at?
In Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs.
And I tried out for the United States Disabled Cycling Team at that point. And I made that team and ultimately ended up racing in the Paralympics for the U.S. And I ended up racing in a couple World Championships for them. They gave me some good opportunities. I got to race in France a little bit and in Belgium, and I ended up racing. I think I did my last bike race probably in about 2006, 2007.
Wow, that's incredible. Myself, when I started redoing my bicycling, what my big goal was to ride a double century, which is 200 miles in one day. And I did it. I did the first time I entered, I finished. I started at 5 o'clock in the morning and finished at 11 o'clock at night. And I can't tell you how much that changed my life. I was so surprised that you would get to a point where you're so tired, and on the other side of that is almost like nirvana. That's how it felt for me. It was incredible. Now, Josh, I know at the gym we have a lot of exercise bicycles, don't we?
Yes, we have lots of different types. We got the standard cycling bikes, and then we have fancy S2 bikes, which are like a video game and a bike combined. They're a lot of fun.
Video game and a bike combined.
Yeah, best way to
can't beat
describe
that. So what exercises for bicycling would you recommend, like a weight exercise or a routine?
You know, I don't know as much about biking as I do about the swimming and the running, so I'm going to defer to a Judge on this one.
All right. Well, cycling, not biking. Biking, you wear leathers. And
that's another sport.
That's you know, cycling, it's really just like swimming or running. You make sure you do it in short segments to get your body structure used to it, your joints used to it, your back used to it when you're bent over. I was most sore from the cycling portion in Kona just from keeping my neck up for that length of time when you're over in race position. So that was the most difficult. So you want to teach your body to adapt slowly so that you don't get injured.
And race position, for you out there in the real world, is we have these special bars on our bicycle, and you actually kind of...
The easiest way to explain it is if anybody's ever watched Olympic skiing, and you see the downhill skiers and they put themselves in a tuck position and they put their hands out in front of them and they bend over to be aerodynamic. In a triathlon, or a time trial, or racing on the track in a pursuit, that would be your position.
And I know this because I do it myself, and I was so surprised when I read that almost 90% of your effort is simply to defeat the friction of the wind coming in your face. Is that true?
Oh, that's absolutely true. The biggest goal is to make yourself as aerodynamic as possible to keep the resistance.
So this actually, if you look at it from a scientific point of view, it would be more like the faster you go, the more friction you create, the harder it is. Is that, I mean...
Well, to some extent. You also have your wheel inertia involved in that as well. So the faster you go, the more your wheels get up to speed, the less energy it takes to get them going. So as you're gaining speed, it takes more energy. So the weight of the bike or the weight of the wheels actually can make a difference. The aerodynamics of the bike, your position, I mean, it all comes into play.
I see. Would you say that while you're riding, I guess that's how I would say it, when you're racing or riding, your pace, does it ever change, or do you try to stay? I mean, do you look at do you use heart rate or?
I don't anymore. I raced a lot of years, and I was very used to riding at specific heart rates for specific things. This year I didn't do that because my goal was a little different this year, having not raced for a while. So I was very cautious not to overemphasize speed or is more focused on just long, slow endurance. The difference between cycling as a sport and triathlon as a sport is cycling, you keep hitting what you call your threshold. So you just keep raising your heart rate up and then it goes back down. You raise it up and it goes back down. And if you ever watch individuals in like the Tour de France or something like that, you'll see that. The cyclists speed up, then they slow down, they speed up, they slow down. In a triathlon, the goal is to be steady. You don't want your heart rate to ever go over its threshold where it throws lactate acid in your muscles and destroys them while you're in that event. So triathlons is a very, I consider it, triathlons are a diesel. You just get your engine going a certain level and you just motor along.
Yeah. That's a really great analogy, like a diesel. Now, we're not going to talk about diet today, especially because it is a leg of triathlon, the diet. When we don't even call it diet, we call it fueling. Nobody eats anymore, we refuel. And so that's kind of a different segment that we could just talk forever about how to refuel. But the truth is that we do, in the triathlon, have to cram some stuff in once in a while.
Absolutely.
How do you do that on a bicycle?
In Hawaii, I ate, if anybody has seen goos, they're little foil packets. You also have power bars or Cliff bars or some type of bar. In the bike segment over there, I went through approximately 7 goos and 2 bars and about 15 water bottles, because hydration is probably it's actually more important than the carbohydrates. So, it takes a lot. In Hawaii, the wind was so strong that it did cause me some difficulty. There were several segments I actually had to stop and drink and eat just for 30 seconds to a minute because I couldn't take my hand off the bars because the wind was hitting at 30, 35 miles an hour and putting me all over the road. But for the most part, you would keep your goos or your fuel in a pocket on your jersey. I always start with 1 or 2 in my short leg that I can just reach down and grab, and you just bite it and squeeze it as quick as you can in your mouth.
Now, just so you know, those little packets, after you eat them, if you throw them down, you get caught.
Oh, you never throw them down.
What happens if you get caught?
Oh, they will give you a penalty or disqualify you.
That's right. Penalty or disqualifying for littering. That's a good thing, I think.
That's a great thing.
I've lost them before. I thought I would stick them back in my jersey, and I get to the end of the race, there would be one missing. I hope nobody saw that one coming out of my pocket.
Yeah.
But the fueling is huge in triathlon, but not as much, I think, as your equipment. Tell me about your bicycle.
Well, my bicycle was actually, I used an older bike. It was made for me back in the bike racing days for time trials. So I used my old time trial bike and set it up for a little bit less of an aggressive position, so I was a little bit higher because I don't bend as easy at 51 as I did in my younger days. It's very aerodynamic. The tubes on it are airfoil shaped like the wing of an airplane.
Sure.
The tubes are shaped like that. My bike, the big choice in Hawaii is how deep of a rim you use. And I ended up not using as deep a rim as a lot of people because I figured I would give up a little bit of time to be safe in the wind. That was my preference. The bars, like you said, are extend you out.
Right.
Your shifters and everything are out on the end of your bars, so you don't change positions as you're shifting. And your brakes are out on your bars, so you can stay there. Your pedals are like skis. They clip in like you clip in like a ski boot, and you turn your foot sideways to get out, much like you would on a pair of skis, so that your foot is solid in the pedals as you go around. My triathlon bike weighed about 18.5 pounds. In my road racing days, my race bike would weigh about 16.
Yes.
So that's kind of the difference in them.
I don't know if I should say this on camera. My sweetie might be watching, but I spent a lot for my bicycle when I bought it. It's all carbon fiber, and it weighs 16 pounds. It has carbon wheels. When we went to Boise, Idaho, a friend and I, we entered that a year and a half ago, and when we were there, they made us put our bicycles out into the starting line and leave them there all night. And I was kind of freaked out because I thought, wow, what if someone comes and steals my bicycle? And as I go through all these bicycles, these thousands of bicycles out there, I'm walking through mine, and I start looking around, and I go, wow, that one there cost $12,000, and that one there is $14,000. I paid half of that for mine. I thought, why are they going to steal my old junker?
Exactly.
Exactly. You can spend a lot of money, huh?
can spend a lot of money just on race wheels, you know, on the wheels that you have. The wheels can run about $1,000. Each tire can run about $100. And so, you know, people don't understand that just on the wheels and tires, you can spend $1,200 on a bike.
But does wheels and tires make a difference?
Probably the most difference on a bike.
That's what I've been told, over a mile per hour, sometimes even more than that, 2 miles per hour average per race. That's huge. That's huge in a race. I mean, I don't know if you can find anything better than that, because a lot of people spend a lot of money on those helmets.
Right.
And you ever see those helmets, Josh?
Yeah.
They're like...
How much do they help?
They say that they will cut off in, say, a race like Hawaii where it's 112 miles. They say it will save you anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 minutes.
Wow.
So it really depends how aerodynamic you are and
Yeah.
how you ride with your head position.
It's interesting, huh? They look weird. They look like spaceman helmets.
Yeah,
and
they're
stuff,
they're
you
so
know?
fancy now.
And you know, I always wanted one of them, honestly, but I'm not going to kick out. They're almost like $200, I think, aren't they?
A little more than that, yes.
Yeah, more than that. I'm just not willing to kick out $200. I'm getting cheap in my old days. What can I say? So, the bicycle part of triathlon, I have to tell you, is for me is one of the most fun parts of the whole thing. I really, really enjoy it. It's difficult. Your back gets sore. You know, you get sunburn, your lips get dry, all kinds of stuff. But boy, oh boy, it just seems to be really, really rewarding. When we come back in just a few moments, we're going to talk about the last, which is running. Thank you.